Good morning.
Hello!
From Easy Habits Live, Meg is excited to be back. We're excited to have Meg. So this is your favorite 8 a.m. Central Business live stream. And we have done a lot of learning about marketing, and then we have actually done some planning ahead to see what kind of results we're going to need to get by the end of this 8-month experience. And now we're starting to panic. So it's fun 4-month sprint time when we'll be outlining that a little bit and talking about how we can hyper focus on the things that matter most right now. But before that, communication tip.
Communication tip. Also, cat wants out.
Okay. He's licking himself right now. He's not that serious about it.
Okay, well, there we go. All right, communication tips. So Alec was saying that in my absence, he's been talking about different ways to talk to yourself, which is something that's really valuable, I think. And one of the things that I've done within kind of that sphere of talking to yourself is talking to a future version of you as a means of motivation and kind of willpower building. So I learned this from The Willpower Instinct by Kelly McGonigal, one of the McGonigals. There's 2 of them, and and it talks about kind of like envisioning your future self and thinking about what that person, what that version of you looks like, acts like, whatever. But then something else I read about, and I don't even remember which thing it was about talking to that version of you. And so it was a little bit interesting because I'm like, that sounds a little bit woo for me. I tend to kind of, shy away from the woo. But all of McGonigal's stuff is science-based. So I was like, okay, cool, let's try this. And it was interesting because it was... I've done, like in therapy, things where you talk to like a nurturing figure or whatever as a younger version of yourself. But I've never really done trying to connect with the future version of myself. And it was interesting to see that as like, oh, interesting. This is a way to kind of help encourage myself, kind of like I would with my kids almost, but to be getting the encouragement in a way that I hadn't really experienced very much. So, and also just, kind of thinking to what I would say to my past versions of myself, and then thinking what a future version of myself would say to me. It's like, okay, I have a tendency to be really hard on myself in general, but I also look at past versions of myself and realize that I didn't have certain experiences or other things that I do have now. And again, future me would also have those things looking back at me now. So just kind of as a way of connecting with yourself, thinking about how can I move forward in a way that will help me to become that person, and knowing that it's not easy, but it is worth it, and that I've got people to help me, including myself. So, the end.
Nice. All right, so one of the things we spelled out last night when we did our weekly planning session about like, all right, what do we need to do, was realizing that our path forward that we'd like to try to move forward with is getting people into a free 5-day challenge. So they're getting value for free, but they're also learning to trust Meg, and then upsell from that into Meg's own programs. And we made some very ambitious assumptions. But first, we figured if we're running these basically every other week, every 2 weeks, a 5-day challenge, so full week every 2 weeks, that really we only had 8 more sessions approximately, because we have 4 more months. All right, if we start in 2 weeks, then we'll have 2 in March, 2 in April, 2 in May, and 2 in June. So
crazy.
Right. And so Meg has some clients, but if we were to get 1 at each of those sessions or 8 more clients, that's still not getting Meg to where your goal would be. But although if we could do that reliably and repeatedly, we would at least have hit the goal of having a repeatable customer acquisition model. But ideally, right, we want to be at your capacity. That would be the ideal case for the end of June. So we're one, trying to figure out what we can do to make that happen, and two, if we can exceed that. Now, this is an average, so we know, like, maybe we will not get one upsell from the first one or the first couple.
Yeah.
But then if that happens, we're going to have to compensate by having more by the end, which is not necessarily bad because we've figured out how to repeatedly get, 2 or 3 clients per these free 5-day challenges and make them bigger. In that case, then one, we might be able to scale them back, so you don't have to do them quite as much,
which would be nice.
But two, then if we could run this once a month and reliably get 5 clients from it, or 4 clients or whatever, more than replacement level of clients, then we can get you to full client load. So.
Yep. And so, kind of as I'm thinking about this again, I just got back from Japan. And as I was there, there's just a lot of people that I was able to meet, make contacts with. I actually did get a new client, which was awesome. But also recognizing that I now have, that many more distractions of things that are going to be kind of like, and I do have other things that will hopefully help me towards that goal of getting more clients. But I really need to make sure that I am focusing in on the things that I can do here with this kind of repeatable business model of doing the 5-day challenge, hopefully getting clients from that. And part of that too, knowing that we haven't actually run this yet. And so, we're going to try that, and it's possible that it might not work, at which point we're going to have to pivot. But again, doing as much as we can, because we are in crunch time, that this does matter a lot. So, it's hard because my brain has a tendency to get overwhelmed when there's big things going on. And so I'm working on like finding ways to say, okay, well, here's what I can do right now. And here are my 3 most important things for today, and make sure I can execute on those. And thankfully, I'm actually feeling pretty good today as far as jet lag. So I got home, 2 days ago? And the last 2 days I've just been wiped. And I'm still tired, but even less so than I was yesterday. And it's not so much the I'm gonna die, I can't move my body kind of tired, and more just I'm tired, which I'm always tired, so that's okay.
Yeah. I definitely move it, add in some physical activity in there or something.
Yes, that's a good idea.
To get your biosystems up to speed. Yeah. So, focusing down on that, we have a goal, at least a target, that is an all right level. The other thing, actually, I talked about is maybe raising your rates.
Yes.
Because given actually, if we hit this average and we raise your rates, we'll be even a little bit, will be a lot closer, I think, to our goals, with fewer people, which will be nice. So we might have a shoot for a different target rate. Going forward, right, putting all of our effort and focus into this one avenue of the 5-day challenge. All right, what are we going to need to do to make that happen?
So let's see. For the 5-day challenge, I think we'd originally decided on the 24th or the 28th, but kind of being on this side of things, I think maybe because we want to have a couple of weeks of lead in, and I was super busy in Japan, busier than I really even thought I could be, but it was good. But yes, I think if we're going to be doing this in March, finalizing those dates, making some type of marketing materials for that. I've got pretty good outline of the content that I'm going to be having, but I need to let people know, so then I need to message people, or doing kind of those contacts, that outreach that is going to bring people in, and it's a lot of the kind of logistics, right? So am I doing this on my basic Meg Sorensen coaching and consulting Facebook group, or am I going to create a separate group? And so it's making some of those decisions. And then as people are interested, either inviting them into that group or whatever. which would you do? The doing it in one that already exists or creating a new one?
I don't. I I feel like unless you're using that group a ton,
I'm not.
then it like non-critical right now. Like it is essentially going to become the group for that if you use your regular Facebook group.
Fair enough.
And so I would say a decision does need to be made, but the importance of that decision is minor. And if something really doesn't work out, you will lose people if you switch people between groups. But you know, it's probably not the end of the world.
Okay.
It can be done. So
Okay.
I would just say pick one.
All right. And this, right, like something like that is really good for me to hear because I have a tendency to inflate the importance of certain decisions that I'm like, this will make or break my life. You know, am I going to go with Fuji apples or Cosmic Crisp?
Yeah.
Like, you know, something like that that doesn't matter as much. So that's a really great perspective. I think I'm going to use the one I already have, mostly to minimize the amount of effort that it will take to
And I think that's
move
a
forward.
great idea. And then, yeah, in the future, you can upsell people into, you know, something else. I mean, the other thing, so if you use your main group, I guess the advantage of that would be, all right, when you run successive videos, people basically can go through the free course again. So,
Yeah.
like, I mean, if you really want a hard deadline to the upsell, like, no, you can't do this again, you must upsell. But like I don't see there's a lot of point for that, and I feel like if someone is going through your content multiple times, they're much more likely to actually either directly use your services or refer someone or bring someone themselves into the group if they're getting that much utility out of it.
Sense.
So I think the only reason why you would change that would be if the noise of that 5-day challenge drowned out other things you wanted to do with the group, but that's all you're doing with the group at the moment.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think that's fine. That seems valid. And I think, honestly, most people are probably, you know, because I haven't used it much, just it's not coming up in their feed or whatever. Yeah. So maybe it will, and then, okay, maybe they'll leave or whatever. Maybe they'll think it's interesting. So who knows?
Yep. So, glad to hear. So you already have the content outline. I think I'd like go over that and like not just the topics, but like start thinking about like what kind of exercise resources.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, make sure that's fleshed out. You don't have to do all of it now, but like you can kind of start through that, and then doing that at a high level, like not planning out word for word or practicing what you're gonna say yet. If you know. A lot of this stuff is you've taught in some form or fashion already. Yes. So like that's probably not that hard, but that will also help bring out content for sharing.
Yes, definitely. So the things that I can use to attract people to that 5-day challenge. And
so it seems like there's probably 3 avenues that are going to be happening, but they're all under one umbrella, which is all getting people into your 5-day challenge.
Yep.
So we're going to do ads, and I can help with that. But I would like to do that with you.
Yes, definitely.
So you see what's going on and can have input. And then I would like to, and then the direct outreach, getting people in the 5-day challenge on your own. You can probably fill up the 5-day challenge with people, the first one with people you know, right?
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
All right, so like, especially since it's free, I think the caveat to that is like if there are already people who know you offer services, they're not likely to upsell. But I think the goal for the first round is to get people in it, maybe capture the materials. Who knows, depending on where it goes, it might be good enough that we could run it as an online course and make it evergreen, right? That's kind of a stretch goal, but at a basic, get testimonials is probably the first thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Is as the goal of the first round. Maybe not even have people in it, get feedback and refine your course, but also get testimonials for the things that work. That's the goal. And the overarching goal. And then the marketing will be one piece. We're going to try, we'll probably try a couple different avenues. And this week, as I mentioned, we'll do the link or the Facebook leads ad as kind of the simplest way to acquire leads for this. But you'll be doing direct outreach with your circles, and then do content marketing around it, I think, will be helpful. And I think that means that we should sit down at some point and go over the ads together, an ad plan. But that's more of a review. And then for you, that's the direct outreach and then the content marketing plan.
Okay.
And definitely as you're organizing the types of content, you're going to be wanting to think of not just like what topic they go under, but like how it could be used. So like there's the exercise in the thing itself, but there's resources, there's I don't know, discussion questions, thought-provoking questions, there's teasers, there's some of the stuff you're not going to have yet, but then there's like examples from students, there's stories. It's like have all of these or whatever, kind of list out different types of content for each topic, and then your goal will be like, all right, probably like pick a channel or a couple channels that you're going to focus on for the content marketing. But then like if you actually have this plan written out somewhere, this could be repurposed for email sequences and other stuff, teasers, marketing, etc. And so that's secondary to getting people in first, but it will like build up a library of really helpful material, I think. And agreed. So those two things before the actual challenge itself was probably probably the focus. So any questions or?
I don't think so. I think that's pretty comprehensive. I'm sure I'll have questions as I go throughout today. Just as I, kind of hit those like, I don't know exactly what to do next, which is going to make my brain freak out. And then I'm going to want to not do it. And so, one, I'm anticipating that happening, which when that happens, I will probably come and knock on your door and be like, hey, ran into a block. Is that
great?
Yay.
Great. That's perfect.
But I think as far as getting started, I'm feeling pretty good about that.
Yeah. So that's really good self-awareness. Kind of actually stepping into like coaching mode and less like being part of the business and marketing mode. One of the things I noticed when you left that I admit like haunted me a little bit was I feel differently about this because I'm part of this. I can't be as detached as I am normally as a coach. But as a coach, what I do is I notice like patterns of like how people talk about things and what that means for their mindset, right? And so when you were talking about Japan and how happy you were to step away from the marketing stuff and be dealing with people in person.
So much fun.
I know it's so much fun, but is it a reliable way of getting clients?
I got one.
You did get one. Can you afford to take 3 weeks off?
No. But
to get one, and will you get like all expenses paid every time, right?
Yeah. Well, and that's again kind of one of the things that was really nice about this trip is one, it reminded me again how much I freaking love this place. God, it's ridiculous, and I love it. But also I know that if I want to be going back anytime like in the next 5 years, I need to find someone who's going to pay for it, because that's not going to happen with the way that we've been doing things. And so that gives me further motivation to hopefully get to go over there again, to do the marketing stuff over here, so that, because again, connecting the less desirable tasks to the more desirable rewards for me is helpful. And so recognizing that this is a key part of repeating that. And so
that's a good initial strategy. Kind of what I would say about like this pattern is like it signals avoidance rather than ownership, which is going to make it hard, but even the way you're framing that, the less desirable task, attach it to the more desirable task.
I know.
Right.
But I don't know
it's
a way to
handicapped.
just like say like, I love marketing, it's amazing. Like that's
right.
So for me, I'm always trying to find that balance between like accepting the condition of how things are right now and working to try and maybe I can make marketing more fun. I'm not sure. But you know, I don't feel like I can just say I love marketing. I'm going to just lean into it because it's what I do for the love of it. Like, that seems inauthentic to me.
I was listening to Therapy in a Nutshell, which is one of the channels I love listening
that
to.
That guy's awesome. He's amazing.
No, that's Healthy Gamer GG.
Healthy Gamer,
You're
right.
thinking Dr. K of that. But awesome. Therapy in a Nutshell is also amazing in a very different way.
That's a girl, right? Mm-hmm. Yes, no, I have watched her too.
Yeah, you have watched her
She's
too.
Good.
But anyway, one of the great channels, but I think it was Depression, and she was talking about you know, when you're in a depressed state, you can't just think positive thoughts. Mm-hmm. And the bridge there is the maybe. Yeah. A little bit like you just said.
See?
But like, you know,
like it.
Exactly. It's or even stronger, I'm open.
Yes.
Not just maybe I could, but I'm open to, which is a little bit more engaged. Like, I'm open to finding ways to enjoy marketing.
Okay. I'm open to finding ways to enjoy marketing.
Right? And that's it's not that you have to affirm that you're something you're not, but you have to be committed to find something about it that is engaging enough so that instead of being something where you just stop when you hit a block, you think, I want to push through this.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, I'm open to the possibility and the opportunity of finding joy in marketing.
All right. And maybe we can even plan time to think about, like, what would be a really fun way of sharing this. Like, once you have the content plan, right? It's okay to spend time thinking on, how could I do this in a way that's fun? Right? And then you have to think, is that going to work? We will balance the two, right?
For sure.
But we can think about both. And with that, I will then close with the business tip. So I talked a while back about how to focus on work. But even harder for entrepreneurs is how to focus within work, which is what we're getting to. And sometimes having that deadline is one thing that really helps. Set deadlines for yourself, because when you realize, like, oh my goodness, if I want X amount of clients, they're not going to come out of the middle of thin air, and like this ambitious progress where we're trying to go from 0 to 1 in terms of repeatable client acquisition model seems like a really big jump. But setting a deadline for yourself is one of the ways that really gets you to focus. And you've kind of seen a few different ways that we've used that. One, just planning things out and realizing, like, oh, this is going to take a lot of work to get to around half of where we want to go. But the other piece is, like Meg's saying, like, well, what am I not going to do before that deadline if I don't have this done yet? Right? Thinking about, like, all right, the consequences, the Japan, the et cetera. Having a deadline helps you be able to shed some of those extraneous tasks so that you can focus and say, like, if I do this after that deadline, I can do it. Why? So, all right. Well, we'll see you tomorrow. And until then, make big changes one small habit at a time.